My name's Nick. I'm the owner of Kevlar Joe's, and I'm the roaster. I'm an Air Force Security Forces veteran, a dad to 3 wild boys, and a husband to my wife, Crystal, and a coffee enthusiast. From a family in a small town in Missouri, we started with the simple idea of crafting a perfectly bold cup of coffee. Inspired by wellness and countless pots of stale coffee while deployed, we wanted to craft a bold, clean, and smooth coffee. So we did. And we realized we wanted to share this coffee with our friends. Lord knows we could all use a good cup of coffee right about now. From the farm to your coffee cup, there's nothing like a good, well-crafted, and bold cup of coffee. No matter what time of the day, it's there to pick you up, motivate you, and relax you. We hope you enjoy our coffee. Be bold, be humble, be Kevlar. And you can find Kevlar Joe's Coffee Company anytime you want at www.kevlarjoe.com. And for listeners of the Dig Bible Podcast, use the code, all caps, DIG20, whenever you're checking out to get a 20% off discount. Enjoy.
Hi, this is Derek Gilbert. If you want to know your Bible, you have to dig, and you're in the right place. This is the Dig Bible Podcast.
We should read our Bible
as men digging for buried treasure. The Bible is the world's most popular enigma. Its secrets lost to cultures beneath the sands of time. Or is it?
It is the glory of God to conceal things, but the glory of kings is to search things out. God wants you to seek, to read His Word, to look for that knowledge. He wants you to do that.
Man, the people at Nicaea, they chopped out 80 books of the Bible. We need to bring those back.
There's more bad guys in this thing than a Bruce Willis movie.
Oh, yeah.
Let's back it up here.
I love the intro to your show because it's exactly right. There's these nuggets of gold in His Word.
As you guys always say on the show, you got to dig it.
Show us your nuggets.
God, our Creator, lies outside of time, space, and matter.
I feel like God'd be like, "Hello, McFly."
You ain't got it so far, then.
There are secret societies think that they are the descendants of the giant.
I mean, isn't this exciting? I mean, you read it, it's like, wow.
The Nephrology Round Table.
But these angels were taken to help immediately. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. You're out of the game.
Dirty hands means clean theology. Can you dig it? What's going on, all my local guys and gals and long distance pals? We're back. And it's a little bit of a switch this week because the local guys and gals are technically the long distance pals tonight. Yes, we are.
That's a true story. Made a long trip up to Ohio. I almost said down, but up to Ohio. We're up in the Brookville area. Pretty amazing conference that we got to be a part of. Justin got there a little bit ahead of us. Me and Ben had a few problems with the Jeep on the way up. But Ben was amazing.
As always.
And fixed a thermostat and a sensor in less than half hour and got us back on the road. So we got here, and Justin had to hold the fort down for about the first day. We got there just in time to see L.A., and that was about it. But the first day, and then we jumped in today. But it's been good.
Yeah, it was cool the first day. Got to hang out. I had mentioned to Mike Spalding like several months ago, just out of curiosity, how much a vendor table would be. And he told me and everything, and then I just kind of forgot about it, and I didn't think we'd actually have a big
Didn't
print
you
of shirts.
Tell him no? I remember you saying something like, "Oh no, we don't need that."
Yeah.
And so he's like, "Oh, well, we'll put your logo up on the screen or something."
Well, see, what happened was there was a miscommunication. He contacted me like shortly after that because I had expressed an interest in a table. So then he was like, "Hey, I let another ministry have a table. Just donate $30, and then you can get a table." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So I donated the $30, and then come to find out, you know, he was thinking, well, if we got at least 2 tickets, you know, that was 120. So the difference for a vendor table was $30 because it's $150 for the vendor table. So there was like a miscommunication there, and I was like, well, you know what? Yeah, we probably ain't gonna have enough shirts to print and to bring, you know, in this short amount of time. I said, you know, you can just maybe put us down as like a sponsor of the show or something like that. But Steve and you helped too, didn't you, with the shirts? I was working, but we ended up getting like a 25 shirt print done, and we was just going to kind of word of mouth, you know, if we seen people, hey, you like the shirt? We got some. Then when we got there, they actually had our table set up for us, so it worked out really good.
It was interesting because the you know, we got there and Justin I did not anticipate it. We walked in and Justin's sitting at a table and I'm sitting there going, well, how about that? So we walked in, and this is a decent sized conference. When we walked in, it was a nice complex. That Harvest Revival Center was a beautiful place. Everybody was the people that were putting it on did a phenomenal job. It was a beautiful place. We had a lot of phenomenal speakers there, people that we've met before and a few that we'd never have met before. Got to meet a lot of amazing people, especially today. I mean, for me and Ben, because we got there so late yesterday. But today we got to meet it's so many people with so many different ideas and so many different it's so important that we understand that we are all in this together. Like, we can't sit there and focus on our differences. We don't all have to agree on things that are non-salvation issues, but yet we can come together as a church, as a unified body, and understand that it's all about our salvation. It's all about those things, but in the meantime, we have to prepare ourselves for what's ahead, who the enemy is, and how we can combat that.
I thought it was kind of neat that, I mean, I've never really been to a conference, right? But, you know, like concerts. You go to a concert, you know, if you like, say the intro singer, whatever you'd call them, then you liked them, you go out and you buy their stuff. They might be out there to talk to you. But it's just, oh, hey, you know, thanks, you know, here's a T-shirt, whatever. But you could sit down and talk to the speakers and actually have a conversation, not just, oh, yeah, I'm glad you're here, and they shove, you know, push you on to the next person. And it's very
intimate.
Yeah, and homely-like. It's like you knew them. I mean, the couples that come up that were just there, they come up and sit down. And what was wild is we met a bunch that are from where we're from or about to move to where we're from. Yeah. I mean, that was just insane. You know, people just saying, hey, here's you a couple dollars for help you out. You know, I mean, it was really cool.
Yeah, and I'd always wanted an elongated skull for like years, and which I've been working all this overtime, and I'm sure you guys have seen that, you know, I've missed the past few shows, and it's because I've been working so much. So I was like, man, I've been working all this overtime. I'm going to get me one of those skulls. And I found one online, and I ordered it, and it got here in time for the conference. So I was like, I am definitely taking this skull to the conference, and I'm going to have L.A. Marzulli sign this thing.
And he did. Somebody else signed it too, right?
Yeah, I had Derek Gilbert sign it too.
Okay.
But yeah, and that was what was cool, is because here I was, you know, I left the box of T-shirts in the car, And so I walk in with a gift bag for all the guests that we've had on the show, because a lot of these speakers we've already had on our show. You know, Derek Gilbert, L.A. Marzulli, Tom Dunn, Vicky Joy Anderson, you know, just I'm trying to think if I missed anybody, Kenny C. So it's like I just left the other box in there. So here I come in with this gift bag full of shirts, and I'm going to go around and give everybody their shirts, you know, get a picture with them and stuff. And I had this skull under my right arm, and then I found out, you know, yeah, we got you a vendor table, and they had ours, man. It was prime real estate. As soon as you walk in, dead center, you had to go by our table to get to anybody else's. So I thought that was cool. So here I was, perfect setup, not even realizing it. So I had our box of business cards. I had a box of stickers, a big old box of shirts, and my big Nephilim skull. So I just set all the shirts out on that table, and the stickers and the cards, and then boom, I set that Nephilim skull in the corner, and that was the attention grabber, man. Everybody wanted to at least come check out the skull, and then they seen our stickers and shirts. Oh, well, you guys are a podcast, you know. So it was a good conversation starter. But L.A., he loved the skull. As soon as he seen it, he was like, "Where did you get this?" Because him and Aaron Judkins and some guys went down to Peru and actually invested that exact same skull, because it's a replica of it. He's like, "We're the only ones with a mold of this thing. Where did you get this thing?" He's the only thing it's missing is a jawbone.
I thought you dug it up in your backyard.
Oh, cat's out of the bag now.
And were you saying you always wanted one? I was wondering if you were rubber banding your head at night to try to give yourself one.
Yeah, a few people asked me, and there's like an inside joke. All three of us like, "Oh yeah, he found that in his backyard."
Yeah, some people were like, kind of gave us that what?
A rototiller picked it right up.
Say what? That's where the jaw went. That's where the jaw went. Rototiller just tore it off. So we just used what we could use.
That's just so cool, though. Getting to talk to everybody, getting to see these people and the speakers, and every one of them. I tell you that it's amazing to me that when you can get, and in the space that we kind of, our show is based in, and that we kind of dwell in, it might not be a huge community, but there are people that are big names in that community, like L.A. Marzulli or like Derek Gilbert. And the fact that you can just sit down and talk to them and have a great conversation, and it's not a, Ben, how much time did you spend with Derek?
Yeah, and we just talking about. I mean, it's crazy, the amount of, I guess, small world, right? But like you're talking about. Sitting down and they don't mind having a conversation with you. So I sat down and talked to Derek and Sharon, and it comes to find out that Sharon is actually from the same town that my wife's parents are from, and where my wife grew up up in Kentucky. And then we got talking, and because I'm sure they know we're from Tennessee as much as y'all have talked to him. I haven't really talked to him much until this time, minus the time he's on the podcast. And he's like, "Yeah, we were looking at moving down to Tennessee." He said it was kind of weird. We were looking at getting like a guy was starting a radio station about, like a religious men's radio station kind of. He was saying it was like an alternative to Rush Limbaugh and stuff like that, but for Christian men. Not saying that they're not, if they are, but that kind of stuff. He said, but nothing really come of it. And he's like, "Yeah, we're just gonna move to Rogersville." I'm like, "What?" Because if you don't know, that's where we live at. So I mean, it was just like, well, if that ain't a small world. It's just crazy how you just sit down and have a conversation with them, like I was saying. And that, like, you could tell they're not, like, anxious, like, man, I wish this guy would move on along, They sat there and was like, oh, yeah, talking, We had some interesting conversations with some people. But, I mean, it was very, 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 very good.
And this is the first time that we had a vendors table, you know, which we're new to the whole podcasting thing, and we're new to the whole conference thing. You know, me and Steve went to the one back in October at David Hebner's church.
And it was my first one.
Yeah, so that was our first experience with it, but it was a small, intimate setting, you know, like this one also. And we still got to sit down and talk to people and everything else, but this time where I actually had a vendors table. So I was sitting there, you know, meeting people and selling some shirts and stuff, and then they sounded the alarm for everybody to go into the sanctuary and watch the show.
Which the first time I heard that, I was like, what on earth is going on?
Oh, yeah, the shofar, yeah. And so everybody took off, and then I just kind of hung back because I can't remember who was speaking first. I'm trying to think. But I sat back for a little while, and then I noticed everybody was gone, and at the beginning of the day, nobody had seen L.A. His table and stuff was set up. You know, I even went over and talked to his wife, Peggy, for a minute. She's like, oh, well, he's around here somewhere, and everybody was looking for him and asking for him, you know. And then after the shofar blew and everybody left, you know, the only people that was left in there was the authors and speakers. You know, there was a few other vendor tables that was there, like Campermon, they were there, but of course they went into the sanctuary. So the only people that was like left in there was like me, Derek and Sharon, Peggy, and you know, just, you know, some of the people that were presenting, and you know, bigger name people. I was about the only nobody in there. But as soon as everybody left, then here come L.A. And then it was pretty cool. It was like being backstage at a concert. So, you know, they were all just talking, being intimate, and, you know, and I got to talk with L.A. and gave him his shirt, and how he was just over the moon over that thing and loved it. And then I showed him the skull, and he signed the skull for me and stuff. And then we got to talk to him. It was just really cool. It was like being backstage for me, like being backstage at a rock concert and meeting everybody. But like you was talking about, just being intimate with everybody. One thing I loved about, and me and Steve was talking about it too, like out of all the booths, everybody was there just selling merch, and it was kind of a wham bam, thank you ma'am, just a little bit of, you know, conversation and stuff. But it's like today, you know, especially, you know, we had 4 and 5 people just pulling up and talking to us. You know, we was like, hey, pull up a chair, man.
Sat down and
yeah,
just
man.
talked to us for hours.
Yeah, we just had round table discussions with people, and people just sat down and talked to us for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or an hour. And I mean, it was just really cool. We met a lot of interesting people. And so if you guys are listening and you were one of those people, thank you for the conversation and fellowship. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, all the conversations were, you know, they were outstanding conversations. Nobody really, you know, went overly weird, or, well, for me anyways. I'm not one for overboard stuff, but I mean, I thought it was all pretty good.
The material, the information, the speakers are things. This is something too that I think is really important, is that when we go to these conferences, this isn't just a touchy-feely gospel conference. We're not sitting there just, oh, Jesus loves you, Jesus loves you. He does. Don't forget that. Never forget that. That's foundational. But we have to understand, and we've talked about this many times, that, you know, these conferences are for people who are on fire for God. They're for people who are ready for that next level. They're ready. They're past the milk and they're ready for the meat. They really need instruction in the next step. Like, how do you further your faith? How do you help those around you? How do you get and reach the next level of people? Because, you know, the church truly is a sleeping giant. There's so many people that are in the church that are devout Christians, phenomenal people, but a lot of the church doesn't understand and doesn't see what's ahead of us, doesn't see the ultimate struggle that's coming. And as it says in the art of war, right? Know thine enemy. We need to know who we're up against. We need to know that when we get to that point, like, this is who we're fighting and this is how we combat them. If we can, and ultimately, Jesus, he's the commander in chief. He's coming back on the white horse. We're coming back with full army. But we have to know right now, we're part of his army right now, but we're here. We have to be there for our kids. We have to be there for the next generation. We have to be there for everybody around us. And conferences like this, where you're around people who are preparing the next generation, preparing all the other Christians, that we are there to strengthen not only our faith, but to help us and help all those people that go to these things, help that next group of people. Everybody that you come back in contact with afterwards, we're there to help them, to strengthen them, to help people understand who the enemy really is and how they're attacking us. Because it's from all angles. People like to focus on one part of it. And it's not one part. We're getting it from every angle. And if it's not of God, it's of the devil. And if it's not something that's directly affecting you, it's to distract you. This is coming at us, and we have to be prepared for this.
I mean, it's like one of the conversations we were having with a couple which he was a military person like myself, and it's like the art of war. I mean, a good commander anyways, he would try to put himself in the enemy's mindset to be able to figure out his next move. Like, if I was him, where would I attack next? Or what would my next move be? And I think the problem with a lot of people today is they believe that Jesus is real. They believe in angels. They believe there's demons and the devil. But it's almost like the demons, yeah, they're there, but they can't touch me. They can't influence me. They section it off because they don't want to deal with what might be happening with that kind of that realm, per se. And if an angel can come and talk to you, so can a demon. And it's almost like most of the church wants to only look at the what makes me feel good and ignore the what makes me uncomfortable. And the what makes me uncomfortable is the enemy you have to fight. And if you're not preparing yourself to fight that enemy, then they're just going to walk over you. You're going to be nothing. So like Vicky Joy talks about the sleep paralysis stuff, and a lot of them talking about different things that 60 years ago you'd say you're crazy. But as the world, like the whole alien thing, as the world starts progressing, okay, 40 years ago, I seen an alien. I've got crop circles. I've got this and that. People goes, 60 years ago, you're crazy. Then it's, and then Ancient Aliens come out. And they almost Hollywood it. You got E.T. You got all these different movies that's got aliens in it. Battleship, which is an awesome movie. But anyways. I like
That's
it.
besides the point.
Right. It's besides the point. Sidebar. But anyways, they're almost making it more relative, more mainstream. And it's not that they're aliens. That's what they're projecting to make you think, oh, they're aliens. And a Christian's like, well, there's no such thing as aliens. Because God made men. He's made angels. The bad angels, which are now, demons / the fallen. The Nephilim would be the demons walking the earth because they're not of heaven or of earth. So aliens, you're crazy. And then they shut it off. Like, you're crazy. I don't want to talk about that. You're silly. But it's not necessarily that they are aliens. Alien means not of this world. So an angel, by definition, is an alien. Jesus, well, I guess not Jesus because he was part man, but for say God, by definition, is not of this world. He is he's God. Well, I guess he would be, but you understand what I'm saying.
Well, like Bill Gates, he makes the computer, but he's not in the computer. He's not in there making all the moves. He's outside of it.
Correct.
So God, the same, yeah.
Yeah. But it's almost to the point to where people look and they say, aliens, whatever, you're stupid. Now, if not saying that what everybody's saying is wrong, but if they would retell and say demons and the devil are trying to abduct people, and as it was in the day of Noah, what were they doing? Angels were mating with human women. What do all these alien encounters? They're molesting the children, trying to impregnate them, whatever. So okay, let's change aliens to demons. Now it's a little bit different because it's the same demons / angels, not of this realm, are trying to impregnate people of this realm. Because the end of the world, Revelations, when Jesus comes back, will be as it was in the time of Noah. So until we get to that point, it's going to get to that point eventually. You've got their cloning sheep and cloning all this other stuff. So if they can clone it, then they can manipulate it because it's not organic. Well, I mean, natural. And it's just to look the other way is just silly, I think. I mean, I understand the weird and, because 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I was the same way. Go ahead.
And I just want to say, Ben, I am so proud of you. And I'm serious. You were sitting there saying all this, and I was just sitting there, just sitting back. It's kind of
it wasn't in me, was it?
But don't get me wrong. Don't take no offense to this, but I felt like that proud dad when the training wheels came off and you see him riding off on his own. I was like, that's my boy. Because for those that's not followed us from the beginning, okay, Ben was totally
skeptical.
He was
That's not the word.
He's not good with his pronunciations.
Yeah, you should have been.
I believe you.
Yeah,
but what I'm getting at,
that's inside joke.
Yeah, we'll tell that
been
one.
Here at lunch.
We'll tell that one. But no, what I'm getting at is for those that's been around and listened to this, since the beginning, we have totally red-pilled the crap out of Ben. And I remember, when we done this Bible study, Ben didn't know nothing about fallen angels. He didn't know nothing about the Nephilim giants or any of this stuff.
I knew a little bit.
Well, you knew David and Goliath's story.
Yeah, you talked to me once, and I got the book of Enoch, and I read it.
Yeah.
Well, I audio booked it.
I
had the book, but I audio listened to it.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at, though, is I remember specifically in an episode, we were talking about the stuff we were talking about, and you said, I was like, yeah, we've kind of, me and Steve, we've kind of looked in this for a few years now, and then Ben's just like, I don't know what y'all talking about. I got through into the freaking deep end over here. He said,
I ain't got
no life raft.
To swim. I just got thrown into the deep end, and I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, so within a year to see you sitting across the table, and your paradigm totally shifted. It's like, if you can do it, anybody can do it, brother.
I'm a dumb redneck from East Tennessee. I will never say I'm the smartest guy in the room, ever. I will say I'm probably the dumbest guy in the room. So there's that. Okay, I'm the dull knife in the drawer. Okay, but I can fix a thermostat. It just makes sense. If you have Jesus, you got God. He made everything. Well, God, Jesus, Holy Spirit made everything. The devil corrupted us in the garden. Then, Genesis 6 happens. It's in the Bible. You can't deny it. Angels come down to earth, mated with the women, and made the giants.
So are you trying to say that kissing cousins
They do not make 30-footers.
Okay.
No.
I just wanted to clarify.
No. So, and you can get that shirt on the website. Shameless plug. But I mean, it's word for word in the Bible, okay? But it stops there. Then it goes on to Noah, okay? And it talks about all the evil things that, the world's been corrupted. He's just going to wipe it clean. And I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, it's the only time in the Bible that God says he wishes he never made man. In Genesis, this is still in Genesis, but Genesis at the beginning made this, it was good. Made that, it was good. Made man, it was good. He needs a helper, made Eve, she was good. Blah, 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 all the way down. Genesis 6, the Nephilim, everything's getting corrupted. Now, Enoch, it's not in the Bible, but it's a good reference. Read it. Hey, easy now. It's a good reference, but it's not the canon. But you get information. More information. They're over here about having heart attacks. More information on what happened during this time. You okay? You okay, Steve?
So you're telling me after all this time you've actually been listening?
I have. Shh! Don't ruin my persona. We'll get there.
All right, I gotta back it up one time here, just because we've jumped in the deep end. Ben is,
but I got my floaties on.
No, you took your floaties up. We popped those son of a guns. They're done. We're done.
I'm
Ben,
treading water.
Listen, we're at the point now where you don't need an adult to swim with you in the pool. You're okay by yourself. We're good. I'm so happy. You have no idea. Literally, you just blew my mind. I mean, it blew up a little bit. My left side's numb, but we'll get past that. But
you need to calm down on the. You only have a little bit of hair left.
I know it's
parts of your skull coming out. That's gonna leave a mark.
All right, but things like this. This is where I think that it's really important for us to understand, and very important for everybody in the church, everybody in this religious space, that we have to see that when we talk about things, and the word alien is so taboo. Right, we talk about that. People want to. This is so taboo.
People just turn it off.
They turn it off
when you say that.
The
trigger word.
The problem
people
being
need their safe space.
The problem being, though, the same thing is that anything that we hear over and over and over again, something that's pushed in our face over and over and over again, the church needs to take it seriously. We as Christians need to take it seriously, because in one way or another, when you see this stuff constantly in the news, we just heard about it this week, in Congress, this stuff's getting pushed on us.
And that's kind of what I was saying. It's progressing.
It
is.
is.
And we'll get to the whole rapture thing here in a minute.
But the whole point is that when you see this, we can't just deny that there's not something going on, that there's not a purpose, that there's not something there, whether it's for deception, whether it's for trying to soften the blow when something comes, or the way that, and personally, the way I see this going, and I know maybe I'm jumping a little past where we are, but I see this whole alien phenomena, the thing that we see around us. I totally see that we've seen, and LA talks about this a lot, the different levels of disclosure. When we talk about that boom, 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 people keep saying, okay, well, it was this first, now it's this. It's the same thing in our society today. We can talk about anything in our society today, that we slowly accept little pieces at a time.
Baby steps
that get us to a certain point where all of a sudden it doesn't seem, if we took that gigantic step, it'd be like, no way. But if we slowly take these steps, like we have with the alien agenda or whatever you want to call it, that we get to a point where all of a sudden it's like, well, that seems possible. And then we have shows like the Ancient Alien stuff, or we have these other things where all of a sudden everybody's sitting there and jumping on board with this, where it makes it plausible that it's something that's going to affect us, because it's so big right now. First of all, they're trying to tell us that, aliens are the ones that planted us on Earth and all these different things, and it's just
which we know is false.
We do know is false, but the problem is that people who are not everybody has a Christian foundation, but at the same time, people love to have an answer, but not have any repercussions. If angels if aliens put us here, then great, thanks, appreciate it, guys.
I can party all day long because God ain't real.
But
Aliens put me here.
But if I have accountability for my sin, for my actions, if it's because of God, it's because of what Jesus did for me, all of a sudden the weight shifted on me. I have something I need to do. I need to work on myself. I can't be this way. So it's real easy to, we found an answer, but is
it the right answer?
It's not the right answer.
And that's what we're pushing towards, right? And the whole alien thing, right? I can't remember. Was it L.A. I think it was L.A. talking about it.
Yeah, L.A., yeah.
He said, okay, imagine we all get raptured. Right.
He did preface though. He said, "This is me postulating."
This is not saying this is how it's going to happen. But imagine if this did happen like this. Okay, so this whole ancient aliens, we're working our way up to where people's like, well, maybe now we have in Congress people saying, yeah, we've collected spacecrafts, and the people are saying, well,
and we have captured pilots.
Yeah. Well,
when
you captured the ships, was there any pilots? He goes, yes, we've collected organic matter. I think he was trying to be more poetic, not saying, yes, we have bodies. But that's where we're at today. That happened, last week?
Yeah.
Of the time of recording, that happened, this week.
Yeah.
This is Saturday, so it happened,
Wednesday,
this week. Yeah. So, I mean, you have people in Congress. Now you could also say, they're just trying to distract from what's going on in politics and the president's son and whatever you want to say. That's fine. That might be the case. But they're saying it out loud now. So let's just assume this is for real. They've got whatever they found, right? Not saying it is actually aliens, but something, okay? Or it's all a joke. And there's no such thing as aliens, but they're telling us this. So the human population are going, oh man, did you hear what happened in Congress in the United States? They said they found alien spaceships with actual dead aliens, possibly. They might have been alive, I don't know. They said they found organic matter, the pilots. And then, let's say the rapture happens. So us Christians who believe, we're gone. So now what's left is the Christians who know the Bible, or they wouldn't be Christians, I guess, but people who, like in the Left Behind series.
Or just a broad stroke, the ones left behind.
Right.
Christian or non, the ones left behind.
That know and didn't believe, or that just don't care. And what he was saying is, what if that happened, and then this alien race / demon say, oh, yeah, we were here. We're the ones that created you. But now we know that you're ready for the next. We've been watching you. You're ready for the next level. We've been taking some of y'all to see where your mind's at or whatever, to cover up the whole abduction stuff.
We evolved you from apes. Now you're ready for 2.0 download.
And all the people that we took away, they wasn't ready. They weren't good enough. And you've just totally erased God out of the picture because people want answers. And it's true. If you have a problem, a health problem, you go to the doctor. Hey, doc, what's wrong with me? Whatever okay, that's what's wrong with me? Okay, cool. Now I know. And the doc could be totally wrong.
Doc, take this.
Yeah, take this pill. Whatever, It's just not saying this is what's happening, but the progression is what that could be the great big lie after the rapture happens to pull everybody who might, I've heard about Jesus, I've heard about the rapture, but I didn't really believe it.
To explain it away without Scripture.
Yeah, exactly. And if you can erase God, that's the whole plan of the devil. Erase God completely, and he's, in his eyes, he thinks he won.
See, I think it's either one of two things. You know, like Timothy Alberino was saying, you know, like, and you were saying too, extraterrestrial means not of this world. So angels, demons, God, textbook definition, extraterrestrial. So you just, you know, get rid of the verbiage, then the ancient aliens people and the Christians are all on the same page. Just we get hung up on verbiage, you know.
On what you call it.
Yeah. So either, you know, like I like how Timothy Alberino said, you know, he said, possibly not all these crafts that we see are our enemies.
Or bad guys.
Some, he said, some could be our heavenly brothers that are helping us control the jurisdiction of our realm, you know, angels. You know, of course, he said, you know, that just postulating, you know. So it's either these UFOs are fallen angels to deceive mankind, or it's our government manufacturing these
doing
things,
the same thing.
Manufacturing these things to deceive the nation in false flag events to get us scared to death, because history has shown if you cause a problem and get the people afraid enough, they will trade away their freedoms. So when you're causing a problem, you have the solution hidden away before you cause the problem. That way you can wave it in the air and all the scared little puppets will come running because you had the solution. Without, you know, getting in trouble with getting any kind of YouTube strikes on us. I think we all know what I'm talking about.
We just got canceled. Thanks a lot.
But what I'm getting at,
on YouTube.
But what I'm
We
getting
ain't got
at
video.
is I think Richard Nixon showed his hand. He went on live TV and was talking about the alien space threat, and he said, yes, you know, we fight amongst ourselves against races and creeds, and we can't seem to agree on anything, but we need to come together to one accord, you know, to a new world order and peace and prosperity. And I see no other way or no faster way that we could do so is if we were attacked by an external threat, that we would forget all of our differences and come together on one accord for the survival of the human race.
And what does that also sound like? Getting not too political, but the Tower of Babel, they were all coming together to try to create the tower. God dispersed them. And what's the human race / the demons controlling certain people of the human race trying to do? Bring us all back together, one world order, to fight against God.
Yeah, Revelation.
Yeah, it's Revelations. It's just, yeah, it's just trying different ways. And I can't remember who said it. I think it was Vicky Joy. Like, Generation X people, they ain't gonna take no crap. The whole I'm gonna make you scared. They don't get scared much. It's just they watch scary movies. You know, they did the rough stuff. They've seen the Iraqi war. Most of them going into it were Gen X people who said, "Hey, I'll go fight. No big deal." And then you have the millennials. No offense, but they're little sissies. And I'm kind of borderline in Gen X / millennial, but I consider myself more Gen Xer. I mean, I don't care. You can tell me whatever.
Was using ayahuasca and all these DMT and these drugs and things, and instead of, you know, where these other entities were using fear tactics on that generation, like she was saying, you know, this new generation,
it don't work.
Yeah, so
the Gen X,
they're
the
hitting
fear don't
them
work.
with
So you
the
gotta do
feel
something
goods,
different.
you know, with the feelings of light and love and joy in the astral realm when they're taking these DMT and ayahuasca and all these things. So they're hitting them with flattery and feelings of love and joy and light, and that's the deception of this generation.
And not even that, you can even throw meth in there, and all these other crazy drugs. I mean, back in high school, people did pot. The druggies, they did pot and shrooms. There wasn't cocaine. There wasn't crack. I'm sure it was around, but there wasn't meth. And now you're getting into all this crazy stuff because we can't scare you, so we'll get you drugged up. We'll get you in that psychedelic realm or whatever, and we'll mess with you that way or whatever. And now you got the millennials who are little not as tough, we'll say. And then you got these Zers who I don't even know what to say, but they can just go right back to the fear with the Zers. Because, you know, I'm a unicorn. And you have to agree. I mean, and if that's not taking God out of everything, I don't know what to tell you.
I'm going to reiterate here real quick that
this is what I think.
Ben is blowing my mind right now. This is, if you guys have followed us along this whole path at all, like, Ben's a quiet guy most of the time. Sometimes he's along for the ride. Sometimes there's things he's very passionate about, and he jumps in. And
sometimes I actually do some studying.
Well, there was this one time.
Time or two.
There was this one time. But in all honesty, like it you can see this is something that, you know, we talked about it today. This started as a small group. This started as 4 guys getting together because, well, it really is supposed to be more, but only 4 of us showed up. And it started as a small group, us just coming together because we were like-minded. We wanted to have a Bible study, and we wanted to learn. And we always said iron sharpens iron. We want to grow in our faith. We want to grow towards God. We want to be able to take that back and share that with our families and grow our families in a godly way. And it has been an unbelievable ride. I literally cannot explain, and I wish I could. I wish I could explain to everybody out there that what has happened in the last year has blessed me, has blessed us beyond anything I could ever imagine. It has hit me in ways, and I'm sure each of these guys could tell you different things, but it's changed my life in ways that I can't tell you guys. I mean, and I don't mean that I wouldn't try, but I just physically can't tell you. This has been unreal. This ride has been amazing. And God has worked in it so many ways. And we always say if we can help that one person, God, let us please help that one person. Let us please help reach that one person. And I know this conversation's bouncing around a bit, but that's kind of what happens with us. We don't have a set format. We don't have there's no script. Yes, there's no script. We don't do that.
We are literally sitting at a table in the kitchen in the Airbnb after we've done went and ate at Buffalo Wild Wings. We're like, hey, let's make a podcast. That's literally, there's nothing on the table, computer, some drinks, and us talking.
But look at this. And I said this to you earlier, Jess, and I said, look back 2 years ago. We never would have dreamed that we'd be in this place. And God has blessed us in so many different ways. God has pushed us in some direction. We're all growing, we're all learning, and we're all bringing different things to the table. There's not one of us that's the same. We don't all agree on things. We sure don't all agree on things. And I talked about that a little bit today with a few different people I talked to that asked, what's your podcast all about? And I said, it's a little bit of everything. I said, though, we don't all agree. We all have different ideas. But the thing is, we can be respectful with each other. We love each other. It's one of those things where it truly is us bouncing ideas off each other, talking to so many amazing other guests that have come on, and still doing a Bible study. putting all that together, it's been amazing. And I literally look forward to it every week. And it's one of those things where I can't, like I said, I can't even put it into words how it has strengthened my faith, just grown me as a Christian. And literally, if nobody is listening to this, not a single person, I am so grateful it still happened.
I mean, we're working on ourselves and all we're doing is recording it. The small group, Steve was gone. I think he went up to Michigan or had something to do, whatever it was. Is that you're in the wilderness?
The wilderness.
The Wilderness Water Park.
The wilderness water park.
So that's in Gatlinburg.
Yeah.
So right. So we're like, well, we'll FaceTime you. So we're literally in Chad's
We
gym.
did like a Facebook Live. Yeah.
Oh, that's what it was.
We had a
Facebook
private
Live.
group, and we
Yeah.
made a video
Yeah,
and
it
put
was
it on
just
there
us.
just for him to watch. Because he was saying, man, because what was it? We was doing the Tower of Babel, and he was
Yeah,
like,
he's like,
I
man.
hate to miss that one.
Yep.
So we recorded it for him. Yeah.
And so he's like, man, after the video, the time we have our little Bible study, we're like, man, we need to like be recording this. And then here we are. I mean, we're just three dudes talking.
And I never even listened to a podcast before that.
We don't know what we're doing. We had to call his brother to set it up.
Tell us what to buy.
Yeah, tell us what to buy. We're running cheap mics, some box.
Some box.
Yeah, because, hey.
Some magical square thing
I
with
can-
little bouncy lights and knobs.
It's got knobs.
It's witchcraft.
It might be. I don't know. But we're using it
It's a spirit
for
box.
God's glory. If it is witchcraft.
With so much division in the body of Christ, it's important to come to one accord when you can. That's why most denominations agree that the Better Insurance Agency is the right choice for your insurance needs. At the Better Insurance Agency, we care enough about your home and auto insurance to push through doctrinal disputes. Because when it comes to the gift of good coverage, there's no cessation here. So head to the www.thebetterquote.com to begin switching to the Better Insurance Agency. Currently available only in Virginia and Tennessee.
But one thing I thought really stood out to me was during the conference when LA was talking, who all has seen orbs in the sky? Raise your hand. And there was quite a few people raised their hand. And he said, okay, well, who all has had a supernatural experience with an entity or ghost or something like that? A few more people raised their hand. And he's like, well, okay, what about sleep paralysis? Who's had an episode with sleep paralysis? And he told us, if you've raised your hand, keep your hand up. And he asked, a set of 3 or 4 questions like that. And before you knew it, I mean, within 3-4 questions, every single person just about had their hand
I
up.
would say I didn't raise my hand because I haven't. I mean, if he said if you've sent some crazy crap in Iraq, yeah, but which I guess that might have fell into that. But me not raising my hand, looking around, it was about 3/4 of the people there had their hands up.
Mm-hmm. And so he said, okay. He said, so this is the majority. He said, how many of you people that's got your hands up right now? He said, lower your hands back down. He said, how many of you told this to your local pastor? I don't think there might have been maybe 2 hands pop up. And he says, this is why we're here. He said, I'm not bashing the church. He said, believe me, I love the church. He said, but the church is not equipped for these end times problems that we're having. He said, because the church just wants to ignore it. And that's what you talked about earlier.
It's like all they're worried about is the milk.
And that's the thing,
Get
yes.
you saved, and that's great.
That's the foundation of the building.
Yeah,
you still got to build the house.
saved. And that's, I mean, you got to do that, but you got to know how to fight, or else you're just going to crumble.
But I thought LA, he did a really good job. And so, I mean, most of us there has followed LA, so we knew kind of his wheelhouse and things like that. But with the recent news and stuff like that, he had some more layers to add to that onion with his presentation, and I thought it was really good. He was the last speaker of the first night, and you guys came just in time for that, so I'm glad you guys got to see that. So I guess just that's pretty much the first day in a nutshell. But I will say, got to meet Brandon Spain and Sandy Spain from Unrefined Podcast. So glad got to meet you guys and put a face to the name. Which, I mean, I already had a face to the name because we're friends on Facebook. But it was real good to meet you guys in person.
Yeah.
Yes. And then right beside of us, we had those Campermon guys. We got to meet Chris and his newlywed wife and hang out with them a little bit. And then Tori ended up coming the next day, so she came a day late like you guys did, and we got to meet her. She was just...
I think she said she made it just in time for LA too.
Oh, okay.
I believe so.
Yeah, so it was really cool meeting some of the other podcasters that all got started around the same time.
Don't forget about our Lego craft.
Oh, yeah, Timmy was next, brother.
Yeah, he was...
Yeah. Timmy Braithwaite, the Lego man.
He's working on something that we cannot disclose.
And it's a pretty big deal.
It's a big deal. Big.
But yeah, it was really cool to meet these other podcasters because what's funny is, especially with us three, we all started right around the same time. And I had a conversation with a woman today. She just come over and started talking to me and stuff. And if I'm friends with this lady, or you listen to the podcast, and I don't remember your name, I apologize. But I remember she come over and was just talking to us. She's like, "Yeah, I listened to you guys and Unrefined Podcast and Campermon, And she was an older woman, She said L.A. Marzulli. She said, and Derek Gilbert, Sharon Gilbert. These are the ones from my generation. She said, you guys, she said, are the future. She said, you guys are the next generation to carry the torch. So I would, be honored to stand on the shoulders of such great men and try my best to hold that torch, But that made me, that gave me some feel goods, Just to be considered the rookie of the year of that class of NBA All-Stars.
And just to add on, like us three podcasts kind of coming together, or not necessarily coming together, but starting up around the same time. I've heard this, I can't remember if Doug, our preacher, said it, but somebody said something like about Revelations, that 60 years ago, 1800, they had revelations, but no one really talked about it. It wasn't really relevant. But, like, just at some point, it's like the Holy Spirit said, okay, everybody, you need to talk about this. And all of a sudden, you see books about it. You see, which it happened before really YouTube got big, I think. But, you can get on YouTube, watch all kinds of stuff about Revelations. And it's almost like the Holy Spirit is guiding people in certain areas, and it all happens at once.
But old men will have visions and young men will dream dreams. And I think that it says there'll be an outpouring of my spirit. And I think that what's happening, and I do firmly believe, and I know many people have thought, I know Peter and Paul both thought they were in the end times right after Jesus left. This hasn't changed. They were trying to hurry up and get to the ends of the world with in Acts even, Paul was, because the end of the world, where he thought he could get there and be back and it would be done and then they could move on. It was time for Jesus to come back. They thought it'd be in their lifetime. But the whole point is, as we go along and we keep going down this road, we keep seeing I keep getting sidetracked.
Just thinking about your Jeep again, wasn't you?
I was not thinking about my Jeep. Oh, what were we talking about before that?
Going to and fro.
Oh.
Just talking about the podcast and meeting those three guys.
Yes, but I think that the whole point is that we're at the point at this juncture as we go along through the change as our history keeps progressing, as things keep changing, as the world continues to get more and more evil, that we're seeing that God's pouring out his Spirit on those who follow him, on his believers, on his followers. And like you had said just a little bit ago about people who were looking at some of these young podcasts as the next generation. And she said she didn't see that years ago. And you're seeing that now. And I think that's God trying to use this next generation and potentially a final generation to,
reach who we can reach.
Populate heaven and empty out hell. I really firmly believe that. And I think we're right there at the cusp where we're pushing the envelope. And maybe this is our last charge, our last hurrah. We don't know. But we're really trying to get to that point where we're at the end times, in my personal belief.
And on that concept, I can't remember which speaker said it, but he was talking about like a military operation, right? You take an enemy and you turn them, and now he can give you information, and he's also somewhat possibly a spy, right? But if you're not for God, you're against God. So if you're not saved, you're against God, pretty much, in a nutshell. The more people we can save, we're taking away from the enemy. We're stealing their soldiers. And if you look at it like that, I mean, that's a totally different view to look at it.
Oh, I mean, I agree. And it's, I think it was Coach Dave. He was talking about that the first day. Basically, you know, how we are the soldiers of God, and we need to wake up and have our swords drawn, and it's a battle going all around us. You know, those with spiritual eyes can see it. And then that's another thing I think that goes on, you know, even if you don't realize it on a subconscious level. Yes, these conferences are great. You know, if you're past the milk and you're on the meat, here's where you go get in line and get your steak. But not only are you getting, you know, your knowledge base increased, not only are you doing that, you're forging new friendships and new alliances with other like-minded people and Christian people. You are creating a social network. You're making new friends on Facebook and brothers and sisters in Christ, and meeting these new authors and new speakers and if you have a show to speak with and you know, get their knowledge out there to other people. Or if you're not a podcaster, if you're just, you know, a truth seeker, if you want to, you know, dig into some of these subject matters that these people spent 10,000 plus hours on, and you know, and get your nuggets, as we like to say, from these different people, and piece together your mosaic. All these things are great, but it's really the equivalent to going to spiritual boot camp, whether you realize it or not, because you're getting your training, you're getting your field training, you are boosting morale of fellow comrades, you're building camaraderie, and you're getting your ammo and your ammunition, and you are preparing for the day of battle, whether you realize it or not.
And with that being said, the whole you're building a friendship with them. You know, it's not like just some rock star who, oh man, I loved your show. Oh yeah, thanks. Here, buy my T-shirt. Like, they'll stay in touch with you if you seek that.
Well, not even just the speakers either, just the people.
Yeah,
the people that are going.
I mean, we had people come up that we've shared numbers with.
Oh yeah, we had
that we
round
don't even know
tables
who-
going on.
yeah.
I loved that, dude. That's what I told him. I was looking around at some of the other booths, you know what I mean? And it's like, I loved what we had going on. People just pulled up and started talking. Hey man, pull up a chair. I remember at one point we had like 5 people gathered around just sitting. We had just round table discussion
Just
going
talking.
on. Yeah, I mean, I loved every minute of it.
But what I was saying, it's like, okay, you might think what they talked about was just off in left field. But you got the concept because you were there. You heard what they said, and that's fine. You might have never experienced anything that any one of them talked about, but one day you might, or you might meet someone who has, and if it even happens to you, your partner, your children, whoever, your friends, you now have a connection, and they're not going to blow you off. You could get on Facebook and say, hey, this happened. Can I get a hold of you? Whatever. And for the most part, I about bet every single one of them would take some time out to talk to you. You can't do that with a rock star. They don't care about you. Buy my CD. Here's my T-shirt. I've got stuff to do. And it's just, like I said, it might not be, you might not be in the place where what they're talking about right now is, but you might be in the future, and it's that basic training. You know, the guy who's daggone typing the typewriter or in the S1 shop for you military people, they don't go to war. They're in a shop. They're paying your paycheck. They're making sure your awards are right. That's their job. They're not the ones on the front line shooting the bullets. But they still get trained on how to shoot the bullets. Because you never know when your perimeter is ambushed and busted through, and now you have to shoot the bullets. You might never see a demon or anything sketch in your whole life. Good for you. That would be the way to live. That would be a good life. You know, never have much hard times. But when the stuff comes, you can't tell the future. Only God knows that. You at least have the ammo and the knowledge, and we'll say the training, in quotations, to somewhat know how to at least attempt to fight it. You know, it's like say your credit score. If your parents don't tell you how to run credit, how to build your credit score, you just go blow every dollar you got, you're going to have a rough life. If they teach you how to manage your money, build credit, so now you can get loans when you need loans because your credit's awesome, life's a little easier because you have that knowledge. And it's the same thing. You if you don't try, you're just going to be a sitting duck. You're that guy who slept through all class and now you're trying to take an exam and you don't have a clue what it's talking about.
Oh, I agree. I agree 100%.
How was that guy sleeping through class, by the way?
But yeah, overall, man, it was just a really good conference. And Mike Spalding, he put on a really good conference. And from my understanding, he's done this for a few years now. So hopefully he does one in 2024. And I think it's safe to say we will be back. And
we're back.
Our first run of T-shirts were really good. We sold everything but like 4 or 5 shirts.
And it's 4.
Yeah, and then we had plenty of people that we just run out of the design they wanted or the size they needed. And
they at the bottom.
And they wanted to, know if they can get these online. So that's the next thing we're working on. We'll have the online shop set up pretty soon. A funny story to share. I told the guys about it. It was the first day. I was sitting there, and like I said, our table ended up kind of just being like a round table discussion. I was sitting there talking with some people, and this guy, he just happens to walk by, And I see him kind of look over, and I thought, he was just looking at the, the elongated skull, because that grabbed a lot of people's attention. And he stopped and kind of turned, and then he just turned right around and just kind of made a beeline toward the table. And then I was wrapping up the conversation with the guy that I was talking to, and he walked away, and that guy went, straight up to me, and he said, "Hey, I just want to let you know I love your guys' podcast, and keep doing what you're doing for the glory of the Lord. This is awesome, and thanking me and stuff." And I was like, "Oh, thanks, man. You listen?" "Oh, yeah." He said, "I didn't realize that you guys, were the dig." He said, "I just happened to be walking by this table," he said, "with my wife." And this guy's named Mike. Mike, it was a pleasure to meet you, man. But it was funny because, if you guys... For those that don't know it, just maybe found us, believe it or not, we're Southern men.
What?
Yeah.
At least two of us are.
We got a little bit of a twang going on. But he said he was walking by, and he said I wasn't paying no attention. He said, "But I heard your voice." He said, and I immediately stopped. He said, and told my wife, "We have to go back. I know that voice. I listened to that podcast. I know that voice." And he came back. He said, and then I seen the sign. He said, I was like, "Okay, I connected the dots." Yes. And he said, "Yeah, man, I love y'all stuff." He said, "I spent a lot of time on the road." He said, "And, listening to podcasts, and I discovered you guys and love what you do and all this stuff." And I was like, "How funny." You didn't even see our sign or nothing. You just heard me talking. I said, that shows me I got a distinctive voice.
Sounds like some rednecks over there.
Yeah.
I think I know that guy.
Yeah. And what I thought about too, which I didn't mention at the time, is when we had that comedian Brad Stein on. He's a comedian, and he was poking fun at us, a little bit Southern boys and stuff. And he said, "You Southern guys, you got a bad rap." He said, "Even NASA, he said the main stations down there in Alabama." He said, "For instance," he said, "you could have the smartest guy in the room." He said, "have the best idea ever, and step up, raise his hand, and be like, 'Hey, I got an idea. Listen right here.'" He said, immediately, everybody's going to shut down.
Nope.
He said, they're going to turn it off. He said, and then they're going to look at you and be like, "That's okay, Jethro. You just sit back down." He said, "The accent ruins it all for you. You could be the smartest guy in the room, but as soon as you open your mouth, everybody turns you off."
That was pretty funny.
I'm from Michigan.
Poor thing. You moved down here because you want to be one of us. But you got to work on that twang.
I literally thought about getting a banjo, but it just didn't pan out.
Why not?
Anyway, today we got to see, right away in the morning, we saw Vicky. Vicky was phenomenal as always. Really, really, honestly, she is such a good writer. Her book, They Only Come Out at Night, is so good. It really expounds on some really important topics that you see pop up in our overall pop culture when you talk about vampires and things of this nature, which I know when we start saying vampires, Judd Burton gets excited, but I don't know about anybody else. But it literally, there's things where these ideas of these kind of demonic things come out. There's places where this comes from in our religious history, and we need to look back and understand that this stuff is there's a reason it's there. There's a reason these things are talked about, and there's a spot where it comes from, and we have to look back and have to understand. Once again, looking at who we're fighting, who the enemy is, but Vicky Joy breaks things down in ways that are just so well written, and she's just so good with words. It's a phenomenal book. But we listened to Vicky. Vicky was great as always. Then we listened to Sharon for a little bit. Sharon was the next speaker, and Sharon was on point. But it was so cool because her and Derek, they researched a lot of stuff together, and both of their presentations kind of piggybacked off each other. they complement each other very well. And they really got into a lot of different things. Ben, I know you're excited. I know you're excited.
I was going to say, I wonder why they complement each other. Husband and wife, maybe.
Well, that does help. But they are truly not only just a married team, but a great research team, too. And they really, phenomenal authors in their own right. I mean, the way they can word things and put stuff together, both fiction and nonfiction, is amazing. A big fan of, I literally come over to my house, look at the bookshelf. I got all sorts of their books on the bookshelf. So that goes. I also have Vicky Joy's up there as well. So, but if you really look into like how they write and the things that they write, there is you'd be hard pressed to find a better researcher in general than Derek Gilbert. But they put so many things together and fit so many puzzle pieces together. And to find, we talked about it. We've had it on one of our podcast shows to show where the valley of the shadow of death is a physical place and where it is. After Sharon was really on point, and like I said, it piggybacked in with Derek quite a bit, and really jumping into things about their trips to Israel and the different places they got to be. And really, to me, and it's something that I'm finding more and more because I didn't understand it, but partially because we don't have that background. We've never been to Israel. We've never been to Jordan. We've never been to Egypt. They have the background and the knowledge, and they're there, and you start seeing the actual geography, where things line up, and with their research. I mean, being able to see, well, pretty certain this is where the 5,000 were fed. Pretty sure this is where, Jesus was baptized in the Jordan. I mean, things like this with the research they have behind it is unbelievable. It's mind-blowing. Go ahead.
And what I thought was cool was they're doing the research, but it's also the fallen angels landed on Mount Hermon in this area, and this is where Christ did most of his evangelist at, and it was almost like saying, "Oh, you thought you was bad? You ain't nothing."
Bashan is what we're talking about, right? That area south of Mount Hermon, down through that whole area where all the dolmen fields are,
to the Sea of Galilee.
And there's so much evil that had been through there. So many things had happened, and the Mount Hermon event, as far as the watchers coming down, the 200 watchers and things of this nature, you can see that this attack, and this is something that I don't think really was voiced as much in there, but you can see it's pretty amazing, right? Israel was not the world. The world was much bigger than Israel. The world's much bigger than this, but everything happened right there, right? This is something, we go back to Deuteronomy 32 and the nations, right? And we start talking about Israel being God's allotment, right? This is the inheritance for the son. But we talk about this, and everything happens there. Everything supernatural, everything amazing. The watchers coming down there. It's a blatant attack on God's people. It's coming at God. I mean, a full frontal attack on God. It's not going and saying, "Oh, we're going to go over here."
Yeah, we're going to leave your area alone. We're going to go over here to where the Vikings are.
We're going to come down directly there. And the whole thing is that this area, and at that time, we can talk about, at that time, everybody was central with, a Tower of Babel post that. But we can talk about that. But when we get to the point where, okay, the world spreads out, the languages are confounded, they go everywhere else, but everything continues. Israel's the battleground. Israel's the forefront. Israel's is where the frontline troops are, right? This is where things are happening. This is where the real deal's going on.
It's where Armageddon happens.
This is all the front line. We can sit there and speculate all these different things, but in the end, when we look back, the devil has always gone after Israel. The devil's always gone after God's allotment. at that point. You know, things obviously changed after Jesus. I mean, we're all under attack. But if you go back and look at that, everything happens, and that's a relatively small area. Everything's right there.
And what I thought was interesting with Derek was the dolmen fields. You know, he talked about the archaeologists finding all these dolmens in these clusters, and they called them dolmen fields. But once the archaeologists went out and tried to document all these, he said that we can no longer call them dolmen fields because they're so clustered together and so spread out, but so
like
close vicinity of one another that it's
giant field
everything east of the Jordan in the land of Bashan, every bit of it is just one just gigantic dolmen field, you know. He said so it's just like crazy, and he pulled up a map and had them all on there. It's just, and each one was a red dot. It's just, I mean, it looks like a, I don't know, just like a, what is that game, Battleship? You know, all the little red pegs, you know.
You sunk my battleship.
The whole thing is just lit up red, and what was crazy is that, what was it, that the fault line that runs right next to that? Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he showed on that map that there was some kind of fault line or something, and everything is to the right of that. And they said basically it's kind of like a supernatural border. Like when you cross into that, that's when you're in the land of the dead. I thought was pretty interesting, and just all the, you know, supernatural activity and how Mount Hermon, that's where the fallen angels landed. And then at the foot of this mountain, you have all these dolmens. And then you have the Via Maris road that runs through there, right through that valley where all these dolmens are. And then he talked about, you know, the Psalms, you know, yea, while I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, if thou art with me, you know, and all this stuff. And talked about that one section that they went through was a marsh. And that when Jesus and them walked through it, you know, he leadeth me beside the still waters, you know, and all this stuff. And then you get to the dolmens, but you prepare a table for me in the presence of thine enemies, you know. And just how he made all those connections was just really just, yeah, mind-blowing, especially when he slow walks you through it, pulls up the maps, shows you the Via Maris, where it runs, shows you Hermon, shows you all these dolmen fields. Then he pulls up a visual for you, and you see that thing looks just like a tabletop. And it's just, he's just a really good researcher, but he's an even better storyteller and puts it together for you.
And that one that you're talking about, where he thinks possibly that where he fed the 4,000, like, there's a little, what did they call it? That
it's the on the stone circles. It's similar to Gilgal Rephaim.
Yeah, but it actually had a fish kind of carved in the bottom, and the terrain where it's at is higher up, and then it drops off, you know, a hill down to the river, which would be perfect for people to sit and watch. The river right behind them,
like an amphitheater,
and it would project the sound. I mean, and it could. I mean, the signs are there. Why would the fish be there?
Oh, I said it was the very same region where the first three apostles was handpicked from. They were fishermen, and it was right there where John the Baptist was baptizing in the wilderness, and if all that's correct, you know, and he baptized Jesus there. It would make sense because it's all right there in that general area.
It's almost like a declaration of war. Is the way I look at it. Like, hey, you thought you could come down here and destroy what I made. Guess what? I'm back. I'm back. You know what I mean? And this is my declaration of, this ain't yours. This is mine.
And really listening to him today and listening to him break that down, looking at the dolmen fields, looking at Jesus taking his disciples deliberately through Bashan, through the dolmen fields, up to Caesarea Philippi, where he says, hey, Peter, who do you think I am? You're the Christ. You're the Messiah. And then he turns around after the transfiguration turns around and takes them back through the valley of the shadow of death. Dolman field after Dolman field, all these altars built to the dead, to the dead Nephilim, to the dead Rephaim, walking right through this.
And not to mention Mount Hermon with El and his 70 sons, which was a blasphemous bastardization of God and his divine counsel. Went there, transfigured, and threw up the battle flag to the spirit realm and said, your time has ended, and I'm reclaiming my nations, and I'm binding the strong man, and I'm going to plunder your house. Sit back and watch.
It's unbelievable. And that's the part, and this is where I said this earlier, is that the geography is so important. If we don't know the geography, we don't understand all these things. And us, we're people that have never been there. We don't understand these things. We read the Bible and yeah, but this stuff is written to a certain group of people at a certain time that had a certain knowledge of this area and a certain knowledge, the certain part of their culture that they understood. They knew the book of Enoch. They knew all these different things, that Mount Hermon was there, and Paneas, right? The temple of or the altar of Pan was right there. Paneas was considered the gates to the underworld. All this stuff is right there.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's right there on Mount Hermon. It looked like from the picture he showed, off at the bottom to the that they would say would be the gates of hell. And didn't he say something about there was like the world's tallest temple to something up on top?
Yeah, up on the mountain. He said there's still to this day an old religious complex. He said, but it's the highest elevation religious complex in the world, even to this day.
But it was a pagan thing.
Yeah, but then he mentioned too, Sir Charles Warren discovered that big stela on top of the mountain, written in Greek, immortalized, and it was talking about the fallen angels in the book of Enoch, and it said, this is the place of those who bound by imprecation proceed from here, commemorating these fallen angels. But he also discovered these walls that went up like this path to the top of Mount Hermon. And it was kind of like, like cattle gates, like directing people how they should go up the mountain. And then upon further investigation, he's seen that it was going counterclockwise, which was also a kind of like an occult practice. What do you call it? Circular imbation, or what do you call that?
I can't remember the words, but it was like where
circumnation or circumambulation.
Where they would do their dancing. He said like 90% of all worship, I guess,
or depictions of dancing was counterclockwise because it showed the right profile of the face. Yeah.
And then if you, I mean, I don't know if it's 100% true, but you watch movies where you have like the native Indians dancing around their fires for, praying for rain or whatever they're doing. They're also going counterclockwise, which I was like, man, in like, Western movies and all that, the Indians are always going in that direction. Which different, I mean, I don't understand the reasoning for it, but it was just something that he noted on.
Oh, yeah.
Really, overall, I mean, there was some phenomenal speakers. We didn't talk about all of them, but it's amazing if you get a chance to go to a conference like this. If you need that fire in your life, if you need someone to show you really what the next step is, if you're sick of the milk and you're ready for the meat, get to one of these conferences, because there is nobody in the world that can light your fire like these people can. And ignite your faith in God, ignite your fire for God, and take you to that next step. Because iron sharpens iron. We need to be with like-minded people to help strengthen our faith. But at the same time, then we go out to the rest of the world and we take that to them. We just got done doing the Bible study on Acts, and that's the entire book of Acts is about. We go out. We take what God's given us, and we go out, and we create more people that will be on fire for God. And we have to continue to do those things. We have to keep pushing forward.
And if we'll say if you were like me at the beginning, a little skeptical, go in it with an open mind. Let the Holy Spirit reveal to you what you need to be revealed. You know, if you go in there and you're like, oh, that's just crazy talk. Or you go into it, this is going to be stupid. These people are nuts. You're not going to get nothing from it. You might not agree with everything. Like we talk.
And check the word.
Yes. We all
be wiser than those of Thessalonica.
Yeah.
Hear it and open the books and see if it is so.
That's right. I mean, even us three at the table, we don't agree on everything. All right, guys. It's getting late here. What we got? 12:41. It's been a long day.
It's been a long 2 days of driving and fellowship and excitement and 4 or 5 hour sleep nights. So, yeah, we're crashing.
Well, I'm glad y'all listening. Until next time, keep digging. Hey, guys, thanks for listening to the Dig Bible Podcast. Don't be like a county worker. Get in that hole and dig some. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and check out our YouTube channel. See ya.